What is going on, good people? Once again, we are back here on your Thursday night, um, talking about a little Impact Wrestling. We're gonna do our review, hopefully tomorrow, no later than Saturday. But
Wait. So this still isn't the KC Appreciation Day video?
no, this is not the case. The KC, the Kansas City Chiefs appreciation video. No, this is not that.
Bro, it's
Has
my birthday. It's my birthday. Chicken.
it is Casey's birthday. The co-host Casey, not the Chiefs Casey. But
Chicken.
anyway, we are discussing TNA Impact Wrestling. This is kind of our state of TNA type video, I guess, but I actually had a little like caveat to put in this one, um, because I have kind of been on the Facebook groups where they have tried their best to continue to discredit Impact and say that it's terrible and say that they let all the big stars leave and there ain't no Matt Hardy and there ain't no Jeff Hardy and there ain't no AJ Styles and there ain't no Samoa Joe and, and that's fine. Like that's not, I guess my issue is, or my question, I guess to my co-host Casey, is Impact Wrestling going back to its, total nonstop action wrestling roots a little bit here? Um, I definitely feel like they are. I think people are upset about it, but I feel like people should be kind of more excited because I think they're going back to the roots where they actually made a name for themselves. Um, because people are really harping on the fact that these big names are leaving, but then when they were there, they called them WWE rejects. Wait, what? How does that work? But anyway, back to the point. I feel like, to me, like they're going. I feel like they're going back. It's kind of we've said this multiple times before with Impact and Impact Wrestling in general. It's kind of a rebrand again, but I think it's a rebrand as far as its in-ring talent and the roster and the way they're running the shows. I feel like we're seeing a lot of guys get opportunities that you didn't really know about before. Guys like Eli Drake, who has been on the roster for a while, but like if you don't watch Impact on a normal basis, you might not know who he is. You probably should. He's the best promo guy in probably in the business right now. Period. I mean, arguably, I guess you could say. You got a lot of younger talent going for the Knockouts Championship. You got Rosemary, a lot of these indie talents that you might not know about until you watch Impact. Unless you do like watch the indies and watch the local indies and keep your kind of sword sharp on the indie scene. You might not know some of these people. You got tag team champions like OVE. Um, Obviously EC3, a guy who had to be built on his own. And I feel like this is everything that the original Impact that everybody wanted it to be. Like we wanted to see guys like AJ Styles and guys like Samoa Joe get their chance at the World Championship, and I feel like now we're seeing similar guys who had to build themselves up and had to really make their name for themselves, become champion like Eli Drake and EC3, but you still got your veteran presence as well. You got you got some guys from WWE as well. You got Lashley, you got Johnny Impact, you got El Patron. You got these guys to keep I feel like to keep the main event picture relevant, which is what they had to do as well back, when they first started, or when they first kind of had their TNA world championship. They had guys to solidify that roster. They had guys competing for that title like Kurt Angle. They had Christian Cage and all these other guys to come in and make that roster more competitive, kind of like we're seeing with El Patron, we're seeing with Johnny Impact. And to talk about the X Division, I feel like the X Division is kind of being spotlighted a little bit more. We're seeing guys like not necessarily DJZ right now because I think he's not hurt now, but I think he's still getting back into the swing of things. You got guys like DJ Zoo, who's been around for a little bit, Andrew Everett, Braxton Sutter, Caleb Conley, a lot of guys that you may not even think about that are competing for the X Division Championship and really doing a good job with it, I feel like. So, in my opinion, I feel like they are kind of going back to their roots a little bit. They're going back to that you might not know this guy per se, but you do know, you know guys like James Storm. You know these veteran guys, but you might not know Congo Kong, who's a really athletic big guy. You might not, you may not even know a Moose. You may not even know, obviously, I feel like a lot of people know Matt Sydal from his time in WWE at worst. Everybody knows him, but you might not know some of these other guys who are out here, making. I'm not even gonna say that poet. I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna stop it before I say it. I almost said it. I did, but I mean, but like I said, man, I just don't feel like, I feel like they're kind of going back to the roots. You're seeing a lot of these guys who you might not know of until you sit down and watch the product, and you're like, these guys are pretty good. I didn't realize Trevor Lee was as good as he is until I got a chance to really watch him in Impact. So, Casey, any thoughts on this? And it may not be an exact like carbon copy, but it's, to me, just in my opinion, it's very similar. And I don't understand why people are so outraged by them getting rid of veterans and kind of trying to cut their costs a little bit, and maybe even trying to start over in a kind of full-fledged start over.
First of all, before I get into that, I have to comment on kind of what you said a little bit about the Impact fans and a lot of these groups and things.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, they complain when all these, stars leave, like the Hardys. But then when somebody, like you said, when somebody comes from WWE, they're automatically rejects. You can't have both ways. And then at the same time, I don't remember anyone ever saying anything about, being a WWE reject with EC3.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to remember, he was part of the original NXT.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't he get the, WWE reject hate? Because if anyone was a WWE reject, it was him. Like, they didn't do anything with him.
Yeah, that's like the literal definition.
Yeah, like if you look up in the dictionary, his picture's right there. But yeah, that just it's so, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't argue on both sides of a debate, and that's what they do. It's like it's the craziest thing. But I do think in multiple ways, Impact is sort of, in a way, going back to their roots. One, like you said, introducing these new indie stars and kind of, in a way, building up their own, their roster again. Because you have to remember, back in the day, back in the day, the original TNA, 2002. I mean, AJ Styles had only been wrestling for a couple of years, and yeah, he was on the Indies before, but he really, was built up in TNA and helped build TNA himself. So they're trying to, build that up again. These new stars, these trying to build up. This is the new generation, I guess, of Impact.
I think too, what people often forget is you have to have some of these quote WWE rejects anyway. And that's always been my issue with the WWE reject thing. I'm like, if an NFL team signs the best player in free agency, no one's gonna complain unless, I guess, depending on the team, right? If it's like the Patriots, they're like, oh, you guys let the Patriots get the best player again. But like, like if an NFL team or an NBA team, they sign the best player, there's not gonna, for the most part, there's not gonna be a lot of complaints about it. But like, it feels like in wrestling, there's always these huge complaints when people sign the best, the best guys. Even on WWE Spectrum, people will say, "Oh, Adam Cole should never sign there. They're just gonna, they're not gonna use him correctly or whatever." Instead of just being happy for the guy that he finally made it probably where he wants to be. And I feel like that's always been my issue with the WWE reject crap. Anyways, I felt like, why are we criticizing Impact for signing guys who are the best at what they do? And in the same breath, like, why you need those guys? Like, that's the thing. You need those guys because you can't have a casual fan turn on the TV, see Eli Drake, say, okay, Eli Drake's pretty cool, but where's the guy I'm supposed to be looking at? And then Lashley comes out and like, oh, I remember him. I know that guy. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch this for a little bit. Then they get connected with Lashley. They get connected with Eli Drake, and they're like, okay, now I have, you got to have something to draw the fans in, and I feel like that's what these quote WWE rejects do. That's the point.
Yeah, and then also my other point on that was, another way that they're kind of feels like they're going back to their roots is, not being afraid to try new things. Back, when Impact was in its sort of infancy, matches like Ultimate X were, people never seen that before. A lot of people, unless you had watched, wrestling in Mexico, a lot of people hadn't seen a six-sided ring before. So that was something new. They used to try all these new things, and it feels like, okay, they're not necessarily trying new matches that much anymore. They're not really trying different rings or anything, but they are trying new things where with, working with other promotions, openly working with, Border City Wrestling, with Pro Wrestling Noah, with all these different promotions, and having them on their show where, not no other really mainstream, quote, mainstream wrestling company does that. WWE doesn't do that. They used to back in, the Attitude Era. They had, they would have, guys from other promotions come in for different things. They had that one storyline with ECW back in the Attitude Era. They used to have I forgot what promotion they used to have come in from, I think Mexico. I forgot, but today, WWE doesn't do that. Other promotions really don't. I mean, yeah, a lot of the indie promotions will have another promotion's title defended on their show, but it's not the same as TNA now. Showing a match from Border City Wrestling, or showing a match from the Crash or something like that, where it's something new, and it helps kind of get those promotions seen more. So I definitely like that they're doing that, trying new things, not being afraid to try something. If it fails, it fails. And then the fans go, oh my God, they're going out of business. Well, whatever. And also, but it really depends on, who's in that, management position too. So, I mean, they could be going back to their roots right now, and then something could change in management and they could go right back to what they were doing again. It's so kind of, it's so weird with Impact.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because I've been seeing a lot of, and I think that's what sparked this discussion. I felt like is I've been in TNA groups, and obviously there's guys who are avid fans of WWE, who will just talk bad about TNA without even watching it, as we've said before. Um, and I thought about it. I'm like, aren't they kind of going back to where they used to be a little bit with the way their roster is constructed, and the kind of even the way they're booking shows. And I feel like it's weird. Like it feels weird and feels so different because we're not used to seeing it. Like we're not used to seeing it. I think we got used to kind of former WWE guys ruling the roost a little bit, which, as we've said before, hasn't always been a bad idea. Definitely something I wanted to discuss a little bit because I felt like I feel like I had an opinion on it. I didn't know what Casey's opinion opinion was on it, so I kind of wanted to hear his opinion as well. Please, in the comments, let us know how you feel. Is Impact Wrestling kind of going back to those that original TNA route where they kind of made their name, and where you got to see some of these guys you really didn't know. It's kind of in those days where you really didn't know who AJ Styles was, but he started, as you saw him more and more, you were like, I like this guy, and obviously now he's where he is now. So, obviously one of the best in the world. So is that what Impact is doing right now, or do you feel like it's complete opposite? Do you feel like it's just not, it's not nearly as enjoyable? So just let me know. Feel free to comment in the comment section. I almost said the description section.
But then before we kind of go off, I kind of going back to the like you said, you need those kind of veterans in there, but at the same time, I think thing that yeah, you need those veterans, and this is something that WWE doesn't always realize is, yeah, you need those veterans, but like they're not going to be there forever. Like Cena's not going to be there forever. Randy Orton's not going to be there forever. And if you don't build up new stars, who are you going to have?
Yeah, and that's the thing about it too. Like, there's so much turnover in TNA as far as like people leaving and people going in and out, especially the veterans. It's always good to have these guys, these kind of younger guys, because like a lot of times the younger guys who are at the top, you don't really see those guys leave. Like, yeah, I mean, we've seen Mike Bennett leave. We've seen, sometimes, at times they do leave, but some of these guys like Eli Drake's been there for a couple of years now. EC3, in the same breath, has been there for a couple of years now. Trevor Lee has been there for a couple of years now. Some of these younger guys who are seeing, a little bit more success. DJZ, has been there for a couple of years. Eddie Edwards has been there for a couple of years. Like you're seeing a lot of these guys who, I guess, they're kind of being rewarded for staying with the company, which I think is good.
Yeah.
And then on the women's side, Sienna has been kind of rewarded for being around as well, a little bit more. Rosemary, too. But anyway, I think this is the end of our discussion. Like I said, be sure to leave us a comment and let us know what you think about the discussion. Let us know what your side is on the debate. You can tell us that in the description or on Twitter at ICW_podcast. As usual, be sure to like the Facebook page and follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/ICW podcast, as well. And we will see you guys next time. Whether we're doing a debate or we're doing a review, we'll see you next time. There's plenty of other videos on the channel. So if you need something to watch, we got you. We'll see you guys later.